All right, socialist Mandani. You sat down with Martha McCallum just a couple moments ago on Fox News. We're going to have some reaction to that interview. Joining us, Mollie Hemingway, the Federalist editor-in-chief and Fox News contributor, and Katie Pavlich, Fox News contributor and townhall.com editor. Ladies, thank you. Let's talk. This one's one of my favorites. Mandani wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, here comes the sound. Take a listen.
You have said that you would arrest Netanyahu if he came to the United States. You've been very outspoken in your criticism of him. Do you stand by that? You would arrest him if he came here, if you were mayor?
I've said that this is a city that believes in international law, and this is a city that wants to uplift and uphold those beliefs.
What is he talking about? Mollie Hemingway, help me out here. What is he talking about?
I really think this speaks to why so many people are paying attention to this race. Normally, you wouldn't care that much about what's happening in a city that you may or may not live in, but a lot of Americans are worried about this because New York is such an important city for the health of the country, if not the entire world. In fact, New York City is not based on international law, but rule of law in the United States.
Thank you.
And so him saying that he swears allegiance to some outside entity is why people are concerned, but might appeal to his voters here.
Yeah.
Netanyahu is one of the men of the hour for this phenomenal Mideast peace deal that President Trump has put together. And for the mayor of New York, which is the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, we've been all through that, for him to talk in those terms, he wants to arrest Netanyahu. And it makes me think, and I'll ask you this race may not be quite so open and shut as it might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago, because he's saying such goofy things and people are going to react to it just in the last few weeks.
Well, there's a debate tomorrow night between the 3 remaining candidates in this race, so we'll see if any of them can gain some ground based on what he said during his interview with Martha today. But the idea that he is going to use the International Criminal Court, which is a kangaroo court that is anti-Western, anti-American, anti-democracy, to arrest the only democratically elected leader within thousands of miles of anywhere in the Middle East is absolutely outrageous. He talks about wanting to arrest Netanyahu. Well, what about arresting the president of Iran and all of his human rights abuses? What about looking at the roster of all the people who fly into New York City every September for the United Nations General Assembly, many of them who have committed atrocious human rights abuses, not to mention real genocides. He has nothing to say about them, which, to Mollie's point, he is more dedicated to this global idea that we should be against the West, against America, against Israel, and the partnership there, rather than being detailed and obeying the laws inside of the United States of America, because he wants to tear the country down.
All right. Mandani on giving Mr. Trump credit for the ceasefire. Here it comes.
If you are asked tomorrow night if you give credit to President Trump for the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and the return of the 20 living hostages, would you raise your hand?
I continue to have concerns because I've seen reports still, just this in the last few days, that 5 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli military. And that's what gives me pause about issuing any kind of praise or celebration at a moment when it is still so in its infancy.
Would you give President Trump credit or not, to any extent? Credit or not?
I think it's too early to do so.
Mollie?
I saw a poll just yesterday where they interviewed Republicans and Democrats about the question, like, do you believe that Donald Trump had anything whatsoever to do with this deal? Now, of course, the facts are that he had everything to do with this deal. And there were many people in the Democrat Party who did not know or claimed not to know that this was a Trump-orchestrated deal. There's not really debate about this. This isn't up for debate. We have people on all sides of the issue saying that Trump was very impressive in this situation, that Steve Witkoff was very impressive in this situation. This isn't an issue of whether you like Trump or hate Trump or love the deal or hate the deal. Just factually, Donald Trump clearly orchestrated this, and I don't see why you have to lie about that in order to be elected mayor of New York City.
Yeah, and he flew all the way to the Middle East to codify the deal, meeting with the prime minister, speaking at the Knesset, then flying to Egypt, meeting with almost 40 world leaders who flew in last minutes to talk directly about this peace deal and how they can expand the Abraham Accords beyond just this ceasefire. But the bottom line is, people like Mamdani, who are saying that, they wanted a ceasefire, but now they have nothing to say, and praising or at least giving credit to the guy who actually got a ceasefire in place. They never wanted a ceasefire in the first place. That was a false premise for wanting to defund our military aid to Israel, to wipe Israel off the map. And let's not forget that Mamdani is the son of a Columbia professor at Columbia University in New York City, who has written in black and white in his book that he thinks we should normalize suicide bombing as political violence, not as a barbaric act of resistance. And so that is where he's coming from. That is why he won't condemn Hamas, and certainly why he won't allow for credit for President Trump, who is on the side of the Israelis, not on the side of the terrorists in the Gaza Strip.
Mollie, aren't we seeing pictures of Hamas who have not yet disarmed? And Trump is very clear about how they're going to be disarmed, but so far they haven't. Killing various Palestinian clans. I mean, there's internecine war. Hamas is still carrying on over there. For some reason, Mandani doesn't seem to acknowledge that.
Yeah, Mamdani's talking about reports you've seen. How about the reports that we've seen that Hamas is going after internal dissidents and killing them? But also, it's not just about what's happening in Israel or in the Palestinian areas. It's also about what's happening in New York City. Mm-hmm. This hatred he has for rule of law. I thought one of the most interesting questions that Martha asked was, do you still hate the cops as much as you claimed to for years? And he said, oh, no, I've changed my mind. She pressed him on it. Does that mean that you're going to support, like your opponent has supported, adding thousands of cops to the beat? And he said, I'm not going to do that.
He said he might reappoint Jessica Tisch, the police chief, who's done such a great job the last 2 years. Well, first of all, she's already commissioner. He didn't say, yes, I will. It was Eric Adams' best appointment. I mean, everybody knows he's anti-cop. And he's going to cut the cops, and he likes social work. Everybody knows he's anti-Israel. By the way, we had Leo Terrell on from the Justice Department. They're going to be watching him like a hawk. If he makes one move with anti-Semitic hate crime, they are going to come after him. Leo made that very clear to me.
And I think that's very important that people understand that if he violates people's civil rights, if he's elected, that they should be on him questioning anything, or if he wants to, go after bodega owners by having these socialized grocery stores, there should be lawsuits filed, probably.
Yeah, and he's already publicly made statements that would be clear civil rights violations if he carries them out. For example, wanting to tax white neighborhoods more than other neighborhoods, wanting to discriminate based on race and what he believes is social justice for groups that he thinks have been discriminated against or that don't have equity inside of the city. And when he offers things like free buses, well, he's running out the tax base of New York City that would pay for those buses. He's against the police who would be the ones keeping those buses safe instead of, worse than what we saw under de Blasio and what we've seen in recent years. So nothing that he says on the issue of crime, policing, and just being anti-criminal, anti-terrorism is making any sense at all.
Crime in the last 18 months or so has come down significantly under Jessica Tisch.
Exactly.
Under Jessica Tisch. And to mess with that and turn the clock back is pure insanity. I got to go. There's probably a lot of other quotes. I'm sure Martha did a terrific job, but those are some we picked up. Mollie, Hemingway, Katie Pavlich, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And you can catch Katie co-hosting The Five over on Fox News right after this show.